Well, good afternoon. How is everyone doing? And hope you're having a great day. And we look forward to our little session here together today, guys. And when you get your notification, why don't you say hello? We'd appreciate you coming on with us. And thank you so much. We really enjoy you folks so much. Mike in the afternoon. How are you from Norland? And Betty Lynn, how are you? Manette, how is ya? And Barbara from Kansas. And Nick from our staff, how is ya? Marilyn. And April, how are you? Thanks for coming on. Marilyn. And Wendy from Markham. And Rosa. And Sherry, how are you? Anna from Manitoba. And Georgie from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Catherine, Parksville, British Columbia. Marlene, how you doing? And Barbara from Florida. Fran from Tilsonburg. Frida, how you doing, Frida? Beverly, New Brunswick. And Kathy from Vernon, British Columbia. Got some folks from the West Coast. Nativity, how are you? Eric, Ottawa, Janice, and Etta, how you doing? And Deb from Timmins, and Jocelyn from Baxter, Debbie from Miramichi, New Brunswick. Rita, how are you? And I missed that. Donette, and Kevin. Kevin's listening on his iPhone. Margaret from Lake. John, Elgin, Illinois. Lisette, Nouveau-Brunswick. Bonjour. Jeanette, comment ça va? Dr. Bennett from Newfoundland. How is ya? And Dave and Edna. Thanks for coming on in the afternoon. We appreciate it. Donna from Park Hill. Michelle, Prince Edward Island, Jeanette, Jocelyn. Did I miss anyone? Mary, okay. Guys, I want to answer a few questions that we didn't get to the other day. And hi, Gillian, how are you? See, when it gets up there, I just can't see it. Patricia and Denise from Oakville. Someone was asking about yogurt, okay? Because we allow yogurt on the reset because it's dairy, okay? And don't ditch dairy. A lot of people make the mistake of ditching dairy. I don't want you to do that. I like dairy. Now, look, if you can't digest or whatever, I get that. But generally, we like dairy. Now, I don't want you drinking anything other than you can have some cream. If you're going to make a Dr. Martin's Perfect smoothie, okay, that's all right. That's really well received and makes for a tremendous meal replacement. Now, I had a parent, I think last week, talking to a parent, and I said, why don't you give your child a Dr. Martin's Perfect smoothie? Use 4 ounces of heavy cream. Cream is so good for you. It's such healthy fat. Dairy fat is tremendous. The problem with drinking milk is they take the fat out of it. Now, if you have whole milk, it's better. And certainly, if you got a cow in the backyard, you know me, I love milk, but you don't need it. But people ask me, I think almost on a daily basis, if they can have yogurt. Yes and no. Okay? Yes and no. You're allowed to have Greek plain yogurt. Okay? Greek plain. Now you're going to notice, because the question is asked, what should you look for in a yogurt? How much protein? How much carbohydrates in there? How many sugars are in there? what you're going to find, even with the Greek plain, and hopefully they haven't taken the fat out of it, okay? You don't want to eat fat-free yogurt. You want a heavy, heavy protein, heavy fat, because that's what's good for you. And you're going to get, just generally, like I've looked at labels of yogurts for years and years and years, and you get about 6 grams usually of sugars. You might think that's a lot, but those are dairy sugars. Okay? They're not, you just can't get away from it. And I don't mind that in a yogurt, okay? My wife likes a yogurt here, Oikos. I don't know if you can only get it in the States. It's a triple yogurt that has, let me see here, total carbohydrate, no sugars added. Okay, you get total 5 sugars in this one, but there's no sugars added. Okay, there's no sugars added. So it just naturally occurring in dairy. You're going to get some sugar. Now, not in cheese. Usually you get no sugars at all, but yogurt you will. But this one here has a packing of 15 grams of protein, which I really like, okay? So yogurt, yes, it's got to be plain. I don't want no fruit yogurts or whatever. No, read the labels and you'll see the sugar content goes through the roof if that company is adding any fruit or whatever to their yogurts. But you can have a Greek plain yogurt. Okay, let me just see if I hit all the questions. I know I wanted to touch on that. Somebody was asking about protein and kidneys because their doctor said they have either kidney failure or trouble with their kidneys or any kind of decrease in the kidney function is, you'll get most doctors, almost all of them will tell you to cut back on protein. Because one of the things they measure in urine is protein in the urine. Okay? It's protein in the urine. And you can understand the thinking. If you have protein in the urine, it means that your kidneys are secreting way too much protein. And it must be, one more step back, it must be because you are eating too much protein. Guys, it's not that at all. It's the opposite of that. When your kidneys are stressed, when your kidneys are not working the way they should, the last thing you want to stay away from is red meat. Because what affects the kidneys is sugar. Now, I have to answer this question almost daily. And listen, I don't mind answering because doctors have a tendency to scare the life out of people. You got kidney damage. Well, who wants to lose their kidneys? You got protein in your urine. Cut back on the protein. No, you don't have to cut back on protein. I've never seen a case ever where someone was eating too much protein and getting kidney problems. If you eat too much sugar, ask a diabetic. Who has the most trouble with kidneys? Diabetics? Yes, diabetics. Sugar destroys kidneys. Okay? And I was reading on there today too, I think it was on our private Facebook group, where someone was saying that, coming back to kidneys, that one had damaged their kidneys due to the use of Advil. And guys, let me give you a rule of thumb. okay? Because even though it's over the counter, and a lot of people get fooled by this. I can get this painkiller, Advil, Tylenol, Aleve, right? Naproxen, that's what Aleve is. I can get that over the counter. That means it must be safe. Look, guys, farthest thing from being safe. Okay? Farthest thing from being safe. Rules of thumb. Advil, okay? Advil, kidneys. A lot of people, they don't realize they've damaged their kidneys because of medication, especially Advil. Very, very hard on the kidneys. 2, when you think of Tylenol, last year, or I think it was the year before, for in terms of recorded visits to the emergency room, in the United States, I think it was, the last one was 2022, over 300,000 cases of Tylenol toxicity for the liver. Liver, Tylenol. Kidneys, Advil. Naproxen is Aleve. That is more dangerous for bleeding. Okay? For bleeding, like stomach bleeding. You got to be careful with it. You don't realize that, yeah, doc, I got a headache. And I sympathize with that. Okay? I'm on your side. I don't like people suffering. I really don't. But just understand that it's not, you're playing with a loaded gun. And I have seen it many, many times in the office where people had a form of liver damage, cirrhosis of the liver, where it was become sclerotic. And the reason that happened was that they were on Tylenol for a long time, thinking that every time I have a headache, I just pop a Tylenol. Or people pop Advil for joint pain or headaches or whatever. And look, it does the job in a sense. It cuts the wire, the pain wire. But you're playing Russian roulette. Naproxen. Guys, one of the videos that I did, I'm talking, it's got to be 7 or 8 years ago that I did a video on aspirin. And I don't know if we could ever find that. If we could find it, I'd play it again. I did a video, and I think we hit almost 200,000 views. Because it was, go back 7 or 8 years, people were thinking that aspirin, like a daily aspirin, was like vitamin A. What? Nah, and the FDA, they finally, after years, people taking aspirin every day. And the reason they were doing it is because, and listen, they didn't usually do it without their doctor's permission, but their doctor said, well, why don't you just take an 81 milligram, baby aspirin to keep your blood thin as sort of a preventative thing. And then the FDA came out and said, no, don't do that anymore. We don't recommend it. And that is because they were starting to see tremendous damage, especially bleeding and micro-bleeding, and you wouldn't even know it before it was almost too late. And so they said, no, don't do that. Now, aspirin, if you're having a stroke or a heart attack, take one. Absolutely. But there's, again, I just brought you the news at that time, and it was one of my most watched videos. And, I was just reporting what the FDA had said. Nah, we don't recommend it anymore. We don't recommend that doctors use that as part of a protocol post heart attack. Even post heart attack, they weren't recommending it. And I know today, okay, especially my parents' generation, okay, which there would be very few left. My generation, my parents' generation, were used to taking aspirin as a prophylactic, and they took it as a prevention. And again, I'm doing that because we are talking about kidneys, and like a lot of people lose their kidney function, and it's never, ever because of protein. Well, it may be. It's a lack of protein. Protein is the king of the castle for your kidneys. You want to avoid kidney damage? Eat protein and fat. Eggs, meat, and cheese. That's the best stuff, because what kills your kidneys is sugars. Crappy carbohydrates that turn to sugar rapidly. And again, I rest my case by using the example of diabetics. Tony Jr. and I talked about this last week on our webinar. We should have invested in dialysis. I mean, it's incredible. The up and coming industry is dialysis. My word. Okay? So be careful with meds, even over the counter. Be careful with sugars. Eat as much protein as you want, because the protein found in your urine is not coming from the protein that you're eating. It's coming from the sugar you are eating. And guys, I remind you, what do I call the kidneys of Canada? Niagara Falls. Kidneys need water. And you will not do well, your kidneys will not do well if you are dehydrated. If you think of your kidneys as filters, and they need to be water going over them all the time. You want to do a detox on your kidneys? Drink water. That'll detox your kidneys. I tell people that get kidney stones, you know what the problem is? Okay? You're drinking fructose. You're drinking fructose. Never, ever, in my opinion, ever have another glass of orange juice, apple juice, grape juice. Don't drink that. That's what creates stones in your kidneys. The other thing that creates stones in your kidneys are oxalates. When you think you're a rabbit and you're not. Oxalates are, okay, like a lot of people don't realize that. You're not a rabbit. What? I'm not a rabbit, Dr. Martin? No, I'm not. We got a lot of rabbits around here, okay? And you know what they do? They chew on grass, it seems, all day long. You would think they get tired of it. And they like to get into people's gardens and this and that. And they're veggie freaks, okay? And that's all right. They're a rabbit. You don't make an enzyme that rabbits have, okay? You don't have an enzyme like cellulose, okay? You don't have that enzyme, cellulase. You don't have it. And therefore, you make oxalates. And oxalates have a ball in your kidneys, and they make a ball. Have you ever had a kidney stone? You think you're having a baby, and you get no baby at the end. Just pain. As that little stone that you could barely see. It always surprises people when they look at a kidney stone. And if they happen to see it, you know, when they use that little net to catch your stone and you pee it out and they go, you mean that little bum caused that much pain? Yeah, that little bum, when it's going down that little wee tube that comes out of the kidney, oh my word. But what will solve that is when you drink water, vitamin W, and quit drinking anything else other than coffee. You know what destroys your oxalates too? Coffee. What? Coffee. Let's hear it for coffee. Because it does such a good job on your kidneys. You know, 'cause coffee got a bad rap. You have to understand, I've been around for 50 years. This is my 50th year. Yikes. That makes me old. No, but I know, but back then, coffee and the kidneys, there's nothing that will dehydrate you more than coffee, and coffee is bad, and it just damages the kidneys. I said, no, it don't. No, it don't. It's good for your kidneys. It's a powerful antioxidant. And it will keep your kidneys, along with water, and flushing out those stones. You're either making calcium stones, okay, 75%, or oxalates, 25%. Calcium stones, and you get calcium stones not because, you know, like, oh, vitamin D. Nah. Look, if you're getting enough K2 in your diet, you see, K2 is essential for your kidneys. But you get K2. Now, we put vitamin K2 and in the perfect ratios with vitamin D in our vitamin D, okay? Perfect ratios. But in nature, God wanted you to eat vitamin K2 to keep, because when you eat an egg, you got calcium in eggs. Is calcium good for you? You bet your boots calcium is good for you. Okay? The problem with calcium, if you take it especially as a supplement, it will not get to its intended destination. It doesn't get there without it being transported by vitamin K2. That's why when you eat an egg, you got calcium, but you got K2 there. If you have a piece of cheese, if you have butter, you know you got calcium in butter, right? Yeah, but it's surrounded by vitamin K2. Who knew? Okay, and then it will get to its, that's, you don't make calcium stones from calcium unless you're taking a supplement of calcium. My doctor told me to take a supplement, calcium supplement. Your doctor, I love your doctor. Tell them I love them. Say, Dr. Martin said, I love you, but you're wrong. You don't want to take a calcium. What are you taking calcium for? Eat it. Guys, there's some things you should eat. When I talk about vitamin A, do I tell you to go out and get a vitamin A supplement? You could. And the odd time I used to put a few patients on vitamin A. But I wanted you to eat your vitamin A. If you eat a steak, you get vitamin A. If you eat an egg, you get vitamin A. If you eat cheese, you get vitamin A. There are just some things I would rather you eat than have to take a supplement. And, you know, so I know that was sort of a long story to talk about kidneys, but it's just because I get so many questions on the kidneys. And guys, I want you to ask questions. Better to ask. Better to ask. If you're not sure, you're doing the reset. You're thinking about doing the reset. Don't be shy. Ask your questions. We're here to help you. Our staff is here to help. And so am I. So am I. I don't mind answering your questions, guys. I like that. That's how you learn. What they were asking, how do you even pronounce this? I don't know. I just always called it astaxanthin. Okay? I called it astaxanthin. astaxanthin. Now, if you pronounce that differently, good for you. That is in the family of carotenoids. Okay? I like it. I like it. It's an antioxidant. It's anti-inflammatory. I like it. I wouldn't say it's my top go-to, but I've always liked it. And people have used it for, they've used it for their eyes. They've used it for brain formula to some extent, antioxidant. But I just found pine bark to be better than that. See, guys, I always compare stuff, okay? So when you ask me, someone was asking me this morning about oil of oregano because they were talking about parasites. They said, Doc, what do you think? Well, I said, I love oil of oregano. It's anti-parasitic. It's antiviral. It's antibacterial. It's an antioxidant. It is so good for you. Nature's most powerful antioxidant and not antioxidant, but antibiotic. I love it. Is there any contraindications? Well, it burns. But do you know what's nice about oil of oregano? It only kills the bad guys. It doesn't kill your good guys. I like that. That's why you can take it every day. You can brush your teeth with it. It's so good for oral health, sinuses, spray and pray. Okay. Thanks for the question. Let me see now. I think I had one or two more, and then I think I've hit them all. Couldn't get to all of them. Chaz, are you familiar with cachava? I heard of it. I have to think about it for a sec. Okay, let me come back to it. When will there be decaffeinated coffee blend? As soon as we can. Okay. Now, one of the issues, okay, and coffee's coming back rather quick. We are beholden to our growers. This, guys, good for me coffee is a unique, fully organic, shade grown, the bean. But you don't get a crop every month. Okay. And our first go around was so successful that we ran out of it. But yes, a decaf is coming. Okay. Coming to a theater near you. We'll have it decaffeinated soon. Now, Chaz is also asking about taking ubiquinol with, she's got a mitral valve prolapse with atenol. Yeah, you can take ubiquinol, absolutely, and you should. Anytime you think of your heart, anything in the heart, even the brain, CoQ10 is good for you. Now, by the way, your body makes CoQ10, okay? It's not like CoQ10 is something that was invented. No, your body makes it. But when you take it as a supplement, you need to take a ubiquinol and not a ubiquinone, because that's what your body absorbs. So good for the heart. If you have a mitral valve prolapse, CoQ10 absolutely is so good for the heart. Where CoQ10 really works is in your mitochondria. You got more battery packs in your heart, muscle, and your brain than anywhere else in your body. And that's why, and statin drugs, by the way, they're famous for destroying your mitochondria, your CoQ10. So if you know anyone on a statin drug, you make sure that they're taking CoQ10 and you say, Dr. Martin said so. Andrea, concerned as to why my A1C keeps going up over 2 years. 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, and I eat a very low carb and I do feel tired. Andrea, I just got to tell you, without knowing you, you and carbs don't get along. You don't. If you have A1C, one thing about A1C, you can't fool it. Now, your A1C doesn't mean you're a diabetic, but your A1C tells you that you are insulin resistant. And how do I know that? Because you're over 5.4. And if you find it going up, Andrea, you're becoming more and more insensitive to insulin. Okay? You want your cells, Andrea, to be hypersensitive to insulin. If they are, then you don't need much. But when you see what your A1C creeping up, and good for you, you're eating low carb, you need to eat lower carb than you're eating. You and carbs don't get along. That's what it means. And if you're tired, that's one of the reasons. Okay? If you find yourself sluggish, your A1C is too high, and you have a condition called insulin resistance, and join the cast of 93% of the population have that. 93%. So you're not alone. But you just have to say to yourself, Andrea, you have to look yourself in the mirror and just say, my name is Andrea, and I'm a carbaholic. And you are already on the right track. I just can almost assure you, Andrea, had you not taken those steps already of eating a lower carb diet, you'd be a diabetic already. You'd be on the Titanic and crashed into the iceberg already. So look, don't feel bad about it. Just be honest with yourself. Okay? Because when I see people's blood work, I'm honest with them. I tell them, you know what? You got insulin resistance. And don't think, but I eat low carb, dog. Yeah, you might, but you need to eat even lower carb because you and carbs don't get along. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. So, Andrea, that's a great question because I know a lot of people are in the same boat as you and they get frustrated. But don't be frustrated. Just understand that health is never, ever an easy journey because health depends primarily on food. And we live in a world, we're not out working all day on the farm and then eating 3 meals a day. And, today in the world, we're surrounded by snacks and we're surrounded by food 24/7, it seems. You can hardly go to sleep without food. And, food. But you'll win. Okay? Thank you very much for that. See, Linda's asking, can I go on the reset if I have a compromised kidney? Absolutely. Absolutely. And, okay, I think I hit. Nancy's asking about her husband. He's going on a mission trip. Well, we'll be praying, Nancy. Good for your hubby. And he's going to go to a hot climate. What about electrolytes? Well, I would bring some with me. You can get electrolytes in packets that you can bring with you. If you can't, when you get down into those hot climates, one of the best electrolytes is coconut water. Coconut water. So, yeah, but you can get some good electrolytes. I like electrolytes, by the way, for me. I found them to be very good. And Natalie, I think this is it. Why do I always want to overeat at night? Is that a leptin thing? Yeah, you're a carboholic and you got insulin resistance. And the problem with that is what goes up has to come down. So what you're finding is that when you get insulin resistance, you usually get leptin resistance. And leptin is the hormone that your body secretes to tell you that you're full. So you hit it right on, Natalie. Yeah. But stick to that high protein. Okay. Stick to it. And you will regenerate, my friend. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate you coming on afternoon session. Lord willing, I'm back in the morning. And tell your friends. And if you have questions, don't be shy. We're here for you. We want to answer all your questions. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.